welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the Fan Show Wrestling Division, a wrestling special of the week of WrestleMania, because everyone's a fan of something, and most people are fans of wrestling, and we do this every year, and I'm joined by none other than one of the best, I'm not even going to say local, I'm just going to say all-around experts I know, James the Sports Guy. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I always look forward to these little chats just because half the time you fight me on stuff, which is, it's
what we do.
It's what we do. It's fine. Mm-hmm. But 99% of the time, you do make good points.
I know.
So modest. But WrestleMania 35.
It's here.
It's here.
It's WrestleMania week.
It's WrestleMania week, and it's in New Jersey, because apparently that was something that people were a little upset about that was not made clear by WWE.
That what?
Well, on Twitter, they were not happy that Michael Cole and Corey Graves continue to say WrestleMania in New York.
Yeah, that's how they're going to continue to brand it.
I know, because that's what happens when you have confusing things like that.
How is that confusing?
Well, they have a stadium for New York teams in New Jersey. It's called New York Stadium. Well, It's MetLife, but you know what I mean. This is the second time they've been at MetLife.
Yep.
And the last time was Rock versus Cena 2 for the title.
Yep.
And they had pretty good set and backdrop, which I don't believe they've unveiled this one yet.
No, they'll probably unveil it, let's see, Saturday?
I thought
or Friday, or probably be Saturday after the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because I remember the New Day unveiled it last year.
They've been unveiling it after the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So that would end up being on Saturday night.
You think it's going to be a good one?
A set?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some pictures of it. So 2 years ago when they did the whole roller coaster theme and they spent millions of dollars on that set.
It looks really good.
It looked amazing.
Probably made up for the fact that it wasn't the best card.
You know what? I went back and watched it, though, 2 days ago. And
of course you did.
It wasn't horrible. Then last year's, with the whole mask, the New Orleans mask.
I thought that was different. Very unique.
Was not my favorite set.
Yeah, it wasn't like my favorite. I just thought it was different. Like
it was different.
Away from the norm.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of cooler things they could have done.
Obviously.
So I'm expecting this one to be a little bit more grand than last year's.
A little bit more grand.
I think it's going to be a lot, very Statue of Liberty.
Well, yeah, with the logo that they
there
have
it is.
Right
so
now.
We'll see. It's going to be an interesting few days.
The Rumble, the set was not. There wasn't one.
There wasn't one.
They came out from the dugout. But I felt though that the Rumble as a whole was very well put together. Would you, if you had the choice, would you sacrifice a good set for a solid card?
Yes. Now, and this is tough because I'm a big set guy.
You are. That's why I had to ask.
You're
a very big set guy.
The aesthetics of all of that is huge for me. But NXT has sort of re-taught me that you don't need like that what happens in the ring can supersede that, because they're going to a baseball stadium again next year for the Rumble. So the Rumble didn't need it, because actually I thought the Rumble was really like well done. Now everything since the Rumble, that's a completely different story. But the Rumble was good.
I still think one of the best sets of any pay-per-view was the Rumble that had the Roman Colosseum theme, where they had the guys open the doors and they came out. I thought that was really well done. And it seems like, with the exception of Mania and maybe the Rumble, that they've just completely scrapped trying to do any kind of unique sets altogether.
It's cheaper doing the same one. And for a company that can literally create anything, they're just keeping it on the cheap and just using the Raw set.
So let's run down the weekend.
Okay.
We will have the Hall of Fame, and we will have NXT TakeOver.
TakeOver will be on Friday.
Yep. Now, my bold prediction. I think this will be the first time in, are we going on 2 years now? Probably 2 or 3 years that TakeOver will not exceed the expectations and will not outdo the following pay-per-view. And I know that Mania is kind of that one where you think will outdo TakeOver anyway because it's Mania. Last 2 years hasn't been the case. TakeOver has consistently done better than the following pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. I think this year's Rumble might have been the first time that the Rumble was so solid and so good. I don't know if it would say that it was better than TakeOver or if it was just it didn't. TakeOver didn't take anything away. It was still a solid event. I think TakeOver. I think the advantage they have this year is Hall of Fame is in between. Last 2 years TakeOver. Well, last year TakeOver was the night before Mania, so you have this direct comparison. Where this year you get a whole kind of day in between.
You have a breather.
You have a breather where people can forget, even though people don't forget. So I don't know. I think TakeOver is going to be. I think it's going to be really good. Mania is, and I know we'll talk about it. I think the build to Mania has been horrible. Other than a few peak moments, I think the entire build for everything for Mania has been horrible.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about it.
So, to me, Mania, it's going to be one of those things where it was a horrible build, but the show is just going to speak for itself.
Which I feel like that's how it should have been this whole time. How many times have you and I talked about set it and forget it? Hit the cruise control once. I mean, this thing has really spoke for itself, and I don't know what the hell they're doing. We're going to get to that.
We're going to get to it.
We're going to wait.
So I don't know. To answer your question, do I think TakeOver is going to? I think TakeOver is going to be exquisite. I think TakeOver is going to be amazing, solid. It will be great. I think that Hall of Fame is in between is going to help substantially.
The reason that I think this will be the first TakeOver that won't exceed our own expectations, a few reasons. One, we've set an incredibly high bar for TakeOvers, especially on the eve of Mania. Two, Mania hasn't even been the exception to the rule the last couple of years because Brock Lesnar's been in the main event and the booking has just been...
And Roman.
Really poorly done. But it seems like this is the first TakeOver in a while that you kind of know how the outcomes are going to be, where previous ones you really didn't know. Because they've already called up some talent before Mania, and that's not how they normally do
So things. I think, really, to me, the tag team match, I think, Ricochet and Aleister Black are obviously not going to win. Right?
Yeah, which...
War Raiders will retain. And
it'll be a great match, but it seems like a wasted one.
It's a complete waste, and they'll get a huge standing ovation and from the Brooklyn crowd, which will be great. That's TakeOver country.
Yep.
I can see Shayna Baszler not retaining and getting her moved up to the main roster, specifically if Ronda is on her way out for a sabbatical or a hiatus. They're going to need some new energy, specifically since half the women now are in tag teams. And, poor Asuka. But, and then, do you call up Velveteen Dream now? Do you leave him there? NXT, there's the argument that it's a developmental system, and they learn what they learn there, and then you call them up. I am somebody who absolutely hates seeing NXT stars on the main roster because Vince kills them. Right? EC3. Right?
Hanging out with Tyler Breeze,
right.
Who was, again, great at NXT. They've done nothing with him since.
He and I tweeted back and forth this week.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Wow.
He was just like, no, things kind of suck for me right now. And I tweeted him and said, the first episode of NXT I watched, he was on it. And I distinctly remember, like, okay, he's like the next Shawn Michaels. Like, he just has that same, like, in the 90s they would call it, flamboyance or whatever. But he just had the character. And I'm like, oh, okay, he is, like...
Yeah.
Like, that dude's legit. and now he's doesn't do anything. And so anyway, I tweeted him and just, expressed my support, and he responded back with just like, hey, thanks, man. Like, glad you could be there for the ride. So in some ways, it's like I don't want people to get called up from NXT.
That's how I've felt the last 2 years. Like, I get nervous. The better they do on NXT, the worse they fail, if you can even call it that, on the main roster. I mean, the worse they get buried.
And I know we'll talk about this too.
Yeah.
But when we look at NXT stars, other than the 4 horsewomen, the person from NXT who arguably has had the most success, Baron Corbin.
God, the irony in that.
And I know we'll talk about it, because I'm not a Baron Corbin hater.
No.
I know a lot of people are.
I'm not a fan.
But when you think about it, Shinsuke? No. Bobby Roode? No. I mean, Finn Balor's, he's up there.
We're going to talk about him.
We'll talk about that. But
we are going to talk about Finn Balor.
But when you really look at it, who from NXT on the main roster? And, there's exceptions to the rules, but who's just knocking it out of the park?
Yeah. Nobody.
The Shield. Okay, but they were early NXT, right? When it was still FCW transitioning to NXT. So I'm talking about NXT of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Asuka was as soon as she hit the main roster, great for 6 months, and then they killed her last year at Mania. And
I don't even think it was Mania last year that they killed her, because they still had a chance for the, okay, she's gone forever without losing. How does she come back from this? But they didn't even do that.
No.
It just...
They had a feud with Carmella and James Ellsworth.
So NXT TakeOver, though, I feel like I could see Velveteen getting called up and not getting called up for the same reason. So I feel that with how hard he's worked, they have not given him the respect that he deserves to win his first title after so long on an NXT, which I'm not knocking. I'm just saying that it was like you give it to him after Gargano wins his first individual title and holds it for 3 weeks max?
Yeah.
And now it's on the guy that you could have easily put the title on at your last takeover, and you didn't, which that's fine. Ciampa is amazing, but he deserves a little bit better than what he's been given. So I could see him either staying because of that or going because of that. Like, this is as good as it's going to get for you. We kind of dropped the ball because we had so much talent, so we're going to move you on.
Did you watch SmackDown last night?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, I'm not kidding when I say this, there was an 18-person tag team match last night. 9 people on each side.
Wow.
Basically, it's here's everybody we have nothing for, who are in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and the Women's Battle Royal. My other fear of you're going to call up more NXT talent. So far you've done 2 NXT call-ups in the last 3 months. And none of them are doing, other than Ricochet and Aleister Black, who are in all these tag matches. Who else? Okay, Heavy Machinery. Whatever. Lacey Evans comes out, turns around, walks up the ramp for 3 months. EC3, nothing. Nikki Cross. They've not done anything with them.
Yeah.
Right. And then Ciampa gets hurt. Gargano's back in NXT. So now you're going to call these people up. For what? There's already an oversaturation of talent that's not being used. The Tyler Breeze, the Zack Ryders, the Kurt Hawkins, Sanity, who you just need to watch SmackDown from last night to see how badly they were treated and how little credibility they have. So I don't know. People need to get called up, but I'm also just fearful that.
I felt we reached a point this last year where we had the single best NXT roster assembled in a while. I'd say since Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, Bayley and the 4 Horsewomen. And it's like you want them so badly to be called up to be on that main roster and in that spotlight, but at the same time it's like...
Why?
And who whose place do they take? You already have people coming back from injury, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns coming back from his fight with leukemia. Like, where do you put these guys when you can't even book your main talent in a way that pleases the fans?
And that's where that's where my apprehension about calling anybody up comes from.
Yeah.
Just because it's, if you call them up, you're dogging other people. Do you know that the B team were tag team champs last year, and now you never see them? And it's like, we laugh, but it's true.
It's totally true.
They were tag team champs, and now we never see them.
And they put Miz with Shane McMahon, and
Which we called.
Yep.
The last time I was here.
Yep, that you did. So to wrap up NXT portion, I would like to see Velveteen retain for a couple reasons. One, I don't think Matt Riddle's ready, personally. I think he's done great in his time there, but Velveteen has continued to hold, not only build, but hold his momentum and hold the crowd for the entire time he's been there. And this is the first time he's held the title. I think that speaks volumes for his ability. And what you don't want to do, because you have probably the single best talent lineage for this title, of really any title. And I say that knowing that every champion that's held the NXT title was probably at the peak that they were at on NXT. But if you look at the talent that has had it, that has since moved on to the main roster, it almost takes away some of the credibility of that title. Inadvertently. But still, Big E, Bo Dallas, like, you kind of cringe. So, thankfully, they're not associated, but I would like for them to leave it on Velveteen, especially since they put it on Gargano and took it right back off of him.
Yeah, well, I just think Riddle had his little feud with Cassius Ohno, but he has yet to sink his teeth into I'm not knocking Cassius Ohno, but he's not had other than the match on NXT that determined the number one contender. He has yet to have a true rivalry with an equal yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so do I think Matt Riddle will win? Probably, unfortunately. But I don't think he should.
Yeah, and that's my feelings too.
And then I think Adam Cole wins.
I would like to see that because I want this to be the start of the big push finale, whatever it's going to be with the Undisputed Era. I want to see them be the Evolution at that level and better. I think they could go above and beyond what Evolution was. And not just because they're all of the same age bracket, and you had Ric Flair and Randy Orton as the outliers of that, but I just think that they've built themselves really well on that roster. And they're great. They are fantastic. There's not a single talent that I feel... Because when you see tag teams or trios and stables, there's usually the one that's just he's just there just to fill a spot, right? When Matt and Jeff split up, everybody knew Jeff was going to be the guy, right, between the two. But I don't get that feeling from anyone on this. I really don't. I think all four of them are great. So that'll be a great match. The card will probably be very well done. I just hate feeling like I kind of know where they're going with some of the outcomes going into it, because that's the first in a few years for me for a takeover card.
Which leads me to think that Triple H and Shawn will throw some curveball.
I hope they do.
Which I hope so too. But I think it will be a great event. I think anybody who watches it's just going to be like, damn, that was awesome.
Hall of Fame, few, I feel overdue inductees. The Hart Foundation. I thought Brutus the Barber was already in, and the Honky Tonk Man. I thought they had been in for a while.
No, you can kind of tell that they're... I don't want to say they're scratching the bottom of the barrel, but I think they're reevaluating how they approach the Hall of Fame. That, before it was Ric Flair's the only two-time person. Well, at the end of this Hall of Fame, Shawn will be a two-time person. Brett will be a two-time person. Booker T will be a two-time person. So I think they're going to reevaluate going forward, just okay, well, this person made it as a single star, and we've already, like, anointed them a Hall of Famer as a single star.
Yeah.
And now anybody who's in WWE's good graces, just because, there's competition out there now. So there's a lot of people who are not on their good list.
Well, and what I thought was interesting, and I tweeted this out, and I thought you were going to make a comment about it, but it just really blew my mind that when you think about how they're headed with the inductees for the Hall of Fame. So when it's all said and done, Ric Flair could be a 3-time Hall of Famer for the Four Horsemen, his individual accolades, and even Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H, same thing. DX, individual, Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And John Cena will be in one time, and that is it.
Yep.
That blows my mind, because the top stars from every generation, it seemed like we're in a stabler faction at some point, and he wasn't. I mean, it's just he's gonna have one Hall of Fame ring, because his whole career he was just doing it himself. Like, it just
I mean, but to me, it's like it's a way of. I don't want to say they've diluted the Hall of Fame.
I don't think they have.
I think, anybody who's there deserves, even though there are people who are angry that Tori's going in, and then today they announced their Legacy Hall of Fame, which are just the people that they just make honorariums, and Luna Vachon was on that list. And so now there's people who are angry that somebody with the body of work of Luna Vachon, who was a trained, actually, like, legitimate, tough in-ring person, she doesn't get the honor of actually going in, but Tori. So it's one of those things that people are going to crap all over it no matter what. To me, I'm a fan of the Hall of Fame. I think it's cool seeing people get celebrated. This year, I think, could be interesting because I don't know if they're even doing inductors, because they've every year the Hall of Fame goes on and on and on, and they've since realized that. So I've heard that this year they're going to make some subtle changes in how to try and make sure that it's not a 5-hour thing, because Mania is already going to do that.
You should just have the inductor do a voiceover video package.
I think that's what they're going to do.
Play it.
I think the video packages that they do, there's rumors that that's what's going to happen, that they're not.
I have no problem with that.
So, which could streamline things just a little bit.
What Tori Wilson's induction says to me, which I'm not against it, I don't have a problem with it, because you have to understand is that that's the point we're reaching now in WWE history, is that Lita was the last one that was a diva, that was athletic, that got inducted. That was that kind of teetering, where now it's going to be more diva than athlete, because that's what the 90s were.
To me, I think the one person that people are a little bit like Tori before her would be Molly Holly.
Yeah.
But I think she's going to go in, folks. Like, she's going to go in. It's like people... It's just the way it works out. Like, Molly Holly will absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of, at that time in WWE, Tori was like what it was all about. Sunny went in, and Sunny's really career was not that long, but she made, a huge impact in 95, 96, 97, and then drugs and jail.
I just think that you can't look at a Tori Wilson and say she doesn't deserve it because you're a fan of what you're seeing now.
No,
that's apples to
and
like
I'm 100%
potatoes,
and
man.
I'm 100% agreeing with you.
Like you can't do it.
No, it's WWE from 2000 to 2010, 11, completely different time.
I mean, Stacy Keibler might go in
at
some
will.
point.
I'm sure she will.
And people are going to have a problem with that. And it's like, you have to understand that the times have changed.
Times have changed.
But like, once that clicks, you accept it.
15 years from now, when Sasha and Bayley and Charlotte and Becky and Nia and Tamina, like, it's going to be completely different.
Yeah.
But we can't just erase, a whole era.
No, and one of them is going to be the first female to headline a Hall of Fame class, which is crazy to think of everything happening for the women's division now, and that's going to happen 15 plus years from now.
Right.
That's what blows my mind is that you have this momentum. And you have all this women-ness and women's division and women doing the first of anything. But it's like, who could honestly go in as the first ever female centerpiece and headliner for the Hall of Fame that isn't one of those four? There isn't one. It could have maybe been Trish or Beth Phoenix, but that time has come and gone.
No, and, Triple H did an interview this week where he said that he believes that Chyna will go in by herself at some point. But this is the first
step. Baby steps.
Will she be the headliner? No, because they don't want a headliner to be dead. And that sounds really cryptic, but it's
true. It's true.
You don't want your big, marquee person to not even be there. So,
do you think the Bella twins...
They'll go in.
Well, I'm sure they'll go in, but do you think there's been a lot of heat on them as far as what exactly their contribution to the women's evolution was? And I'll be honest, I have a hard time with it because if it's not for Total Bellas, which I don't think your body of work outside the ring should really account for much.
No, but they're going to be. It's tough because they were wrapped in when Total Divas hit and they became the stars of that show, while underneath this NXT women's evolution was happening. So they kind of got wrapped up into it. Listen, people are going to say that I'm an a-hole. From an in-ring point of view, they've never done anything for me.
Yeah.
Ever.
I don't see it. I
I've never seen it. But, just like we just talked about Tori, do I understand their cultural significance in the business in terms of getting more eyes on the product? 100%. So,
fair enough.
No, they have 2 shows on the E! Network.
I don't know why they need 2. They should just have the 1. That's my feelings on it. So Hall of Fame hopefully doesn't go 5 hours.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either. Solid class. The DX thing, well deserved. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But there's
it's a soft way of getting people like X-Pac, who was in the same porn that Chyna was in, by the way. It's a soft way of bringing him in. It's a soft way of bringing Chyna in.
Yep.
And, people are going to argue that, Triple H is putting himself... Stop.
Triple H could have gone in 5 times by now.
People need to stop with that. I'm over... He's not that self-serving and self-promoting. But, DX was a huge thing. And, eventually the NWO's going to go in, which will make Kevin Nash a 2-time, which will make Razor, Scott Hall, a 2-time person. Hogan will go in with them. That'll make it... So, in some ways, that's kind of a cool new spin that they're putting on it.
Do you think they could have helped avoid this if it would have been... So, the Hardys, for example, great as a tag team. Jeff might even get in all by himself.
I think they'll go in as a team.
But do you think that when it comes to great tag teams, that they should just be inducted as Jeff and Matt Hardy instead of the Hardy Boys? Do that for...
No, that's just semantics.
Okay. Because I'm just saying that's how you could avoid 2 times, 3 times.
To me, I don't have a problem with the... I don't have a problem with it.
I don't either.
Because it's the wrestling business. Everything... It's all made up, right? And so... and I'm saying that as the most devout fan ever. It's all made... The global we don't have to follow a certain protocol.
No.
If it must be this or whatever.
So now, WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And the way that I wanted to kind of segue into this was Velveteen Dream and my thoughts on how they've... I can't say poorly treated because he's a champion. Just the way that they went about it, though, bugs me. But now you go to the main roster, and the way that they have done Finn Balor has not sat well with me. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was one of the biggest stars from NXT at that time, and now the first title that he's held since being a 24-hour first ever Universal Champion was the Intercontinental title at one of the pay-per-views that nobody even cares about, and he pinned not the title holder, but Leo Rush ate the pin in that handicap match, and then he loses it a week later on Raw. Like, what the...
My response to that is wait till Mania, because the payoff will be there. And so now you're going to say, well, then why take it off him in the first place? Like, I can see... Like,
why put it on him in the first place?
You know, to create buzz. But listen, we're living in an era now.
Yeah.
And those of us who have watched a lot, like, and you can see it too, we are operating very much off Vince is making every decision at the last minute. There is nothing that is coherent. There is nothing that is consistent. There is nothing that from week to week, oh, well, this makes sense. It is completely, oh, well, you thought of this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And so probably that day he was like, let's put a title on him. And then 2 days later he's like, no, let's put it on the big fella, right?
Yeah, Vince, we go live in 5 if we could get a decision.
Right, just because, you know. But to his credit, and the last time I was on here, we talked about that infamous promo where Vince said that we're doing this for the fans. And unfortunately, like, the one thing that fans love is consistency and not confusion. And he doesn't quite understand that. And you can tell that there's just like sporadic things that have just happened.
Well, that's because there's a huge difference between a surprise, a twist, and confusion.
Yes.
Like, there's a big difference.
We love surprises.
We do. We love twists.
As long as it makes sense in the context of it.
Yeah.
We love twists as long as there's a payoff, right? And so 2 months ago, do I think that Vince was like, okay, Balor's going to do the demon character at Mania? Do I think Vince thought that 2 months ago? No, he probably thought it a week and a half ago.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride, and so that'll be that. He'll be a 2-time Intercontinental Champion on the biggest stage. Why they didn't just wait? But I just feel like his treatment. It was like rewarding, but rewarding in the worst way, like a participation trophy.
And I think honestly, unfortunately, I think part of it is he's a little dude, and Vince has a tough time. It's obvious Vince has a tough time, which is why people like Cena and Roman and all of these other, like, even Seth. Like, Seth hasn't held the title for years, and quite frankly, I don't think he's going to win it at Mania.
There would be rioting in the streets.
No, there won't. I don't think Seth will win.
That's bold.
I'm saying it. I'm calling it now.
Like, that is probably the boldest prediction. Because there's people that will, like, say it jokingly, but this is the first time I've heard somebody actually think it, like, legitimately.
Do you want to know all the reasons why?
Because it's Brock Lesnar, and
that's
has
part of it.
Special treatment.
That's part of it.
All reason.
And Brock has Vince by the balls and can do whatever he wants. You want me to resign? Okay. Vince also, he sees huge marquee money in Brock, and he sees Brock as a special attraction. He doesn't care that the title's not on every week. So Vince is going to prime the pump with Brock for as many years as he possibly can. He knows, well, Seth will be here in 4 years. Brock probably won't, but Seth will be. We can put the title on him then. Also, I think Kofi wins, and I think Becky wins. Vince is not... There's got to be some heels that win at Mania. If you're going to have Becky win, and you're going to have Kofi win, Vince is also not going to have Seth win. I'm just calling it now.
Well...
It's way too... Yay! I'm calling it. I think Brock beats Seth.
See, I think that out of the three, the one that could go the way that people are not expecting would be
Kofi.
No, Charlotte.
Oh, she's not going to win.
Just because it would mean being a unified champion and beating Ronda.
I think the fact that they're putting the women in the main event for the first time ever, they have to go. This is the one match that they can't screw up.
They're trying real hard.
They're
trying real hard.
Oh, no. But I, and everything that's happened in the last 3 months, most of it has been god awful. I think this last Monday, the whole cop arrest thing, you're rolling your eyes. I absolutely loved it. It was so over the top that it was like, okay, this is like, I laughed out loud, but I'm like, but this is what pro wrestling is. When you go back and you watch some of the stuff that Steve Austin did, you sat there and you laughed. It's not supposed to be believable. It's not supposed to, like, what person would actually drive a beer truck to the ring and spray their boss with, like, that's a comical, it's so over the top. Cement truck in the Corvette, like, it's so over the top that you just, driving a Zamboni to the ring, I mean, all those things. So I loved it. I thought Charlotte's knee to Ronda was just, I retweeted it like 8 different times, but it was absolutely amazing. I think that's the one match that they can't screw up. If Kofi doesn't win, I think people are going to be disappointed, but he'll still get a huge standing ovation. I'm saying Kofi, but I could see that one not.
The problem that I have with the Kofi and Daniel Bryan match is that I feel like it's almost forced at this time. Like, they could have put it on him at Elimination Chamber, and he would have got such a pop. I mean, it would have been deafening.
Mania. Save it for Mania. Do it when there's 80,000 people.
I just feel like...
You said it yourself. Like, the pay-per-views that nobody remembers.
That would have been a reason to give people to tune into every pay-per-view, though. If you do that then, when the whole crowd is chanting and you're like, what is happening? This was a week's build.
It would have been forgotten by now.
I don't know. I just feel like when it comes to seizing the moment, they feel like the only way that they can seize that moment is to save it for WrestleMania.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't agree with that, but it's... that's what they work 364 days to is Mania.
It's the notion of, and we've talked about it, how oftentimes the worst game of the actual season is the Super Bowl. Like, that actual game is hardly ever like
what it's built to be.
Like the divisional championship games, we've talked about how those have always been like...
Those are some of the best.
Those are some of the best games, and those don't happen on the main stage.
Yeah.
But if the NFL could, would they put the best games on... If they could control it, would they put it at the Super Bowl?
Yes and no. Yes, because it's the Super Bowl, right? That's when even the fair weather fans tune into football. Mm-hmm. People that don't know anything about football tune into football. Same goes with WrestleMania. But you're not selling Super Bowl tickets. You're selling season tickets if you're a team. If you're the NFL, you're getting people to tune in all season.
You're applying logic to a no-logical situation. Like, in the land of make-believe,
okay.
If the NFL could put their most exciting game, the most exciting game of the season, whatever year it was, where Richard Sherman had that phenomenal catch against it was the Seahawks and the 49ers, and we were booing and we were all angry. But that incredible game that was significantly better than the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. If the NFL could have made that game the Super Bowl, do you think they would have? If in the magical world?
Yeah.
Right. So WWE is no different. They want to put those moments because it's Mania.
But on that same note, though, they're trying to sell subscriptions for a whole year. If everything is just saved for Mania, what's the motivation to pay for a 12 months of $10 a pop when you could just save it up for one and even create a bunch of burner email accounts to get it for free?
Because they're going to sell more. They're going to get more people to sign up for Mania than they are the Elimination Chamber. because here, if you sign up today, you get the Hall of Fame, and you get TakeOver, and you get Mania, like Elimination Chamber, whatever.
Yeah. The card overall, I think, has some winners.
Okay.
Clearly, Kofi Mania, which is really just WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan all over again. The only thing they didn't do was Occupy SmackDown, which they just about damn near did after that gauntlet match.
Just wait till you watch last night. No. There wasn't that, but I'm just saying the crowd is for him right now. Yeah. He's going to be he will be the first black WWE champion. There's never been a black WWE champion.
Well,
and you can't count The Rock.
What was Ron Simmons? He was the first black champion.
Heavyweight champion overall.
Are we really going to split hairs on this?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. All right.
Vince McMahon has never, and you can't count The Rock because he's Czech other, right?
He's Czech other.
That they've never had a black WWE champion. They've had the World Heavyweight Champion, Booker T, and Mark Henry, but an actual WWE, the prize title, they've never had one.
The prize title that is second fiddle somehow to their new Universal Championship.
And it's not even, I would say that it's not even second fiddle to the Universal Championship. It's second fiddle to Brock Lesnar.
Okay, fair enough. I'm curious as to what they do after with Kofi and Daniel Bryan, because you and I both thought it was going to be Miz and Daniel Bryan in the main event of Mania.
I think Daniel will inevitably win it back because he's a great heel. His promos have been great.
I am super surprised at how effective he's been as a heel.
So I think Kofi gets the WrestleMania moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daniel then inevitably Daniel will get it back.
Speaking of promos, the build for Batista and Triple H, I tweeted out that they literally could have done it the same way as the first time since the first time that Undertaker and Triple H went to Mania, and that's where they're out there, one interrupts the other, and they just point.
February 21st, 2011.
And your tickets are sold. Like, this is more over the top than even I expected them to be for how they built this. And everybody wants to talk about how great Batista's promo was this last Monday, but
the forward promo?
But can I just remind people that Triple H a week prior did a promo while quoting Spice Girls lyrics?
Yeah.
That may go down as the greatest promo of all time.
It's one of those that what they're trying to do is they're trying to paint Triple. This is where things get nebulous because are Triple H and Stephanie good guys or are they bad guys? It depends on which segment they're in, right?
Right.
Because Stephanie on Monday, when she announced, that it's winner take all, she wasn't an evil villain at that point. She was just Stephanie.
Yeah.
So, they're trying to sell the point that Batista's a bad guy and he doesn't care and that he's a Hollywood person and he doesn't...
Ron is taking care of the whole I don't care thing.
Brilliantly. So, this is who Ronda should have been from the get-go. But I just think that they're trying to really sell the point that Triple H is, I'm here, and and it's that whole thing. He's just a Hollywood guy.
I can see Triple H winning just because they need to have Triple H available for if there's another...
He's not good. Well, the whole thing is he's never beaten Batista.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to beat Batista, folks.
But I'm just saying that I was surprised when Sting came back and he lost to Triple H. I did not see that one coming. I don't know why.
That was a whole,
just a grudge thing.
I think that was just a we're better.
We're better than you, so we're going to pay you a lot to lose, even though you should win.
Yeah, and then we're going to have Seth cripple you.
Fair enough. When it comes to this card and the talent that's in some of the biggest matches, gone are the days of great finishers. You look at Rousey has an armbar. Mm-hmm. Becky Lynch has an armbar that disarm her. Flair, she has the figure 8. Seth, yeah, he has the stomp, but in comparison to great finishers, where does that rank? Finn has the coup de grace, which is whatever. Roman has a spear, which is the most overused of all time. Triple H has the pedigree. Batista has the Batista bomb, sometimes the spear, but they're from a different generation. And then, of course, Brock Lesnar has the F5. Daniel Bryan has a running knee strike and the label lock. I mean, where did all the great finishers go? I don't understand. That used to be the big moment of every match.
No, and to me, it's diluted it down. How many matches do we see people just use super kicks like they're clotheslines? Like,
yeah,
where before, like, that was sweet chin music. Like, that put people down, and now it's just, oh, well, there's another super kick. Oh my gosh, there's 10 of them in the So no, I completely agree. It's diluted. Finishers are not protected anymore.
No.
And because when the Undertaker hits the two, if we think of, to me, which is arguably, and it's tough to find an argument, the greatest match ever, Michael's Taker from WrestleMania 25.
Yep.
When he hit the tombstone, it was like, okay, that's it, because you knew, like, nobody gets up from this. And then he did, which makes it even greater. But now it's like that we've lost a little bit of that. And then you have Kevin Owens using a stunner just magically out of nowhere. And then I tagged you in a video on Twitter.
Becky Lynch, which she could win using that, and I would be okay with it. But
she
needs her own thing.
Steve Austin made a comment about it. He's like, no, like, that move needs to be protected. And when you hit it, it needs to just be absolute devastation and carnage. It needs... So I'm completely agreeing. We've lost the art of you when you hit this, boom, you're out.
And here's my feelings on why. My hot take is I feel that the integration of former or even superstars with some kind of background in MMA is almost ruining the in-ring product, because they're technicians. They're fighters that have to turn off what's been turned on for so long. I mean, we saw when Brock Lesnar came back and he split open John Cena's lip because he had a hard time turning it off. We've even seen it come out a few times with him. But Ronda has done very well in this regard. But I feel like we keep pushing for the Shayna Baszlers and the Matt Riddles, and they're taking away what has made wrestling great, which is big-time finishers with unique names and the big build to them. And now it's all of a sudden like Ronda's out there for 30 seconds and she locks in an arm bar, which in her world, she could break somebody's arm easily. And now it's like she has to go almost half-cocked and then make it look believable. It just... I have no problem with submission holds or people tapping out. I just miss when we focused on... Everybody had their finisher and there was like a build-up to it, and then that moment when it hit that just everybody went crazy.
Yeah, and it's the basics. Old school is we don't need to church everything up.
No,
right? Like, yeah, it's the fact that all three ladies this weekend, all of their finishers are submissions. It's like, okay, but, you know, I miss things like, when The Rock had the rock bottom. Boom, he hit it, right? Austin had the stunner. Boom, hit it. The pedigree. Like, there's all these little things that I miss that, and I 100% agree. And then it's also awkward because Finn has the curb stomp. Then they take it away from him for a while. And you can't do that. So... it's like few and far between, and I also agree that the spear and the Superman punch completely overused. Yeah,
very much. And Dirty Deeds has been one of my favorites.
It's a DDT, which also we see all the time.
Yeah, and there was the Glorious DDT, which was good. But Rey Mysterio and his 619 is probably one of the last remaining unique finishers out there. I mean, if you really think about it, who else has one that was kind of their own? And you can't say Triple H in the pedigree.
I mean, I feel like they've protected Aleister Black and the Black Mass. Like, I feel like that.
That's a good one, yeah. I think it's a great one.
But yeah, so.
When it comes to the Kurt Angle farewell tour, it's been poorly done.
It's depressing because it's like.
Why is it so different from the Ric Flair farewell tour? Let's start
because
with that.
Rick could still go. Rick could still have a match. Kurt can't. Really, he looks bad after a minute. Like, the dude has broken his neck more times. Like, he should not be allowed in the ring. And sorry, but it's true. But here's the other thing. To me, they should have protected Kurt and just had him come out, hey, everyone, my career's over. I'm done, blah, 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 blah. Somebody comes out and interrupts him, whether it be Baron Corbin or somebody. Hit him with a finisher, boom. All right, I'm coming back one more time at Mania. Don't give us all these little matches on Raw that expose how bad you look. Because to me, every match I see him, I'm like, this is just depressing. This is just...
It really... It hasn't sat well with me, just because I feel like the Flair one was so much... It was done so much better, and for the longest time I couldn't figure out why. And I think it's because it's like we knew, but we didn't know. Every match he had was a career-threatening match. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a farewell tour. We knew that it was,
right.
But that's not how each one was booked, right? It was almost like people going after Taker's streak. It's just like, I'll end your career, no problem.
Well, it was also like, it gave... Like, Flair had to fight for it in the match. Like, well, I'm never going to retire.
I'm not done yet,
Where this is just, I used to have matches with this person, so I'm just going to go out there. But the reality is I watched last night from WrestleMania 21, Shawn vs. Kurt.
It's such a good match.
And it was like, God, he was so good.
So good.
So good. And it breaks my heart because I know that he wants to be
that good.
That guy. He's not. His father time has not been kind, right? And so it's all of his matches to me have been absolutely depressing.
Which is weird because he still looks like he's in decent shape.
But if you look, he can't even like stand up straight, right? Like he's broke his neck 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. I feel bad for him because he is somebody who needs to be celebrated. He is somebody who is, he needs to be, to me, him in a match, like if his final opponent was somebody like an AJ Styles who could just run around and make Kurt look really, really good so that Kurt didn't have to do a whole lot. But to me, they've exposed the fact every single week that he's not at his best.
Cena or AJ should have been the last opponent because they can both shoulder that workload. Well,
I mean, Cena absolutely can.
Yeah.
And who's to say that still won't happen?
I just, it dawned on me Monday night that any other time, this would be one of those things where it's like a huge deal, but it hasn't been. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just with Flair, they made it special.
Yeah.
This has just been like... It feels like everything else on the card that it's just like an afterthought that 2 weeks ago, well, Kurt, you're going to wrestle your last match. All right, we'll make it... Instead of this being this overarching thing over 3 or 4 months. And then here we are. So anyway, it will be what it's going to be. He'll get clapped. But that's another reason why I feel like there's going to be... If you're going to have the Kurt thing, you're going to have Triple H finally beating Batista. You're going to have Becky winning. You're going to have, theoretically, Kofi winning.
So how is this booked? How would you start? We know how it's going to finish, but how would you start? And then, obviously, there's...
The whole event?
Yeah. Like, what kicks it off? Is it Kurt Angle's
No,
farewell?
I would think if you're going to put the belt on Kofi... I'd have that match either you need to start with something hot. So you need to either start with Orton and AJ, because you need to get that crowd like fired up right away, because it's going to be a long show.
This is the one time I would be okay with them doing the IC title to open, just because the Demon Finn Balor coming out would get that crowd ignition.
It's going to be too light. They need to do it in the dark.
Damn.
It's outdoors.
That's true.
So to me, like an AJ Orton match it's
still a weird booking to me, those two. Like they're gonna have a great match. It's just
right.
weird.
So to me, you just need something right out the gate that's just gonna get people. Kofi winning could be like that huge just initial pop where people are just overly excited, because you need these different peaks and valleys throughout. So I don't know. You have a bunch of fatal 4-way matches.
Would you start with The Miz and Shane McMahon?
No, maybe.
Because they're going to save Triple H and Batista for, if not mid-card, the one...
Right. And I think Shane's going to win.
For Miz and Shane?
Just, once again, you can't have the entire card being all the good guys winning. So they're going to throw some of these... I don't want to call them throwaway matches, but you're going to have to throw some of these other matches that... we as fans aren't going to get everything we want.
It's very true. So your bold prediction for Mania, other than Seth losing, do you have another one?
So Elias will get interrupted either by Taker or Cena, is my guess. It won't be a match. It will just be... he either gets an attitude adjustment or a tombstone, and people are just like, yay. Other bold predictions. I think Sasha and Bayley retain. The Usos will probably retain. I can't see any of those other 3 teams. I don't see the Bar. I would love Rusev and Shinsuke to walk away with it, but they won't.
They're pretty much, they've been assembled the same way that Sheamus and Cesaro.
100%.
Like, it's just, we have nothing for you. It's working.
You're now a team. Yeah. So I don't know. I think those tag team matches will be, I don't think they're going to steal, I don't think any of them are going to steal the show. I don't think they're positioned that way. There's too many bodies. Are you looking up the card?
I am. I was going to go run through it real quick with you. I think you probably already have it, though, before I do. Let's see. CBS Sports is usually the one that's got it. Here we are. Okay, so here is the WrestleMania card. According to CBS Sports, from start to finish, and I'm pretty sure the finish is just what they feel are the top build matches. So, okay, we'll skip the kickoff show just because.
Battle Royals, I don't care.
No. While I do this, who's fallen the hardest, Shinsuke, Braun, or Asuka? I think Asuka has.
I tweeted all 3 of those this week. Somebody's tweeted like who's had the hardest fall since last year. I think Shinsuke out of the 3.
But he held a title relatively soon after he arrived, and he's still been in a lot of main event and even mid-card matches. Asuka, though, it's like she lost and she disappeared. And then they put it on her and took it right back off.
And then she won the TLC. And then she won at Rumble.
I guess, man. All right, so we've got the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, Usos, Ricochet, Aleister Black, versus The Bar, versus Rusev and Shinsuke.
I think Usos retain.
Usos, yeah, I think so too. I don't understand the point of the Ricochet Aleister Black tag team. They're independent talents,
which is why they're not going to win.
Yeah, Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin. Usually, your farewell matches you lose, but I feel like there would be a riot if Corbin pins Angle somehow.
I could see. Yeah, I don't know. I could see Kurt. Let's say Kurt beats him like in a quick minute, which I could see very easily happening. Very similar to the WrestleMania 25 Mysterio JBL match that lasted all of like 30 seconds. That Baron loses really quickly, and then, oh my God, Cena comes out and challenges. You know, maybe something like that happens.
I'd be a fan of that. Miz and Shane McMahon, you think Shane?
I think, yep.
I think Shane as well. What does he jump off of?
Oh, he'll jump off because it's false count anywhere. So once again, Shane, he'll
jump off something.
He'll jump off something.
Women's tag team, we've got Sasha Bailey, Beth and Natalya, Nia, Tamina, and the Iconics. I think Beth and Natalya, just because I don't think they'd hold it long. Like, I think they'd drop it on the next SmackDown, but I could see that being kind of one of those just to have it moments.
I think, from everything I've heard, Beth is really only back for Mania, so...
okay, well, that's fair. The U.S. title, Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio. This one is interesting to me because I would have rather had Samoa Joe and Shinsuke.
Well, I think you probably haven't heard, Rey Mysterio legitimately suffered an injury on Monday.
Oh, wow.
He screwed up his ankle, so he didn't compete last night on SmackDown, and so they don't know what's going to happen with him. To me, Samoa Joe should just come out and challenge somebody, and I think Kevin Owens, who's not on the card right now.
That'd be cool.
I think those two could have a great match.
Phenomenal match. IC title, Lashley and Balor. It's got to be Balor, right?
He's coming as the Demon character, and apparently Vince never wants the Demon character to lose, which is why they protect it, which is why you rarely see it. So.
Fair enough. Triple H, Batista. You and I both think Triple H.
Yep.
AJ Styles, Randy Orton.
I'm gonna go with Orton.
I think Styles. He's such a big attraction, and it's so good when he wins on the big stages.
I agree. I agree.
You just think they're going to do Randy?
I think that this is the start of a program, not the end of a program.
Fair enough. Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, which I'm mad that it's not being booked as the guy versus the chosen one, because I said that I think years ago. I said book these two as that. It's got to be Roman.
I think Roman wins his comeback match, but I think I still think post Mania Drew is still gonna just keep.
I hope so.
He's great.
I think it'll be probably a sleeper match as far.
I think it'll be. I think they're just gonna beat the crap out of each other.
That'd be fun. Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston. I think you and I both feel Kofi has got to. Universal title, Lesnar and Rollins. I'm going to say Rollins just because it'd be nice to have a full-time champion again for a change, but you think that this is the one that they're going to pull that's going to go against.
Yep. Every single time that we think Brock's going to lose, other than SummerSlam last year, which everyone knew that Roman was going to walk away, other than that, anytime that people are like, oh, well, Brock's going to lose, he never does. And the fact that Seth got the best of him on Monday.
I hate that. I hate when you see things happen like that, and you're like, "Well, crap, that means blah blah blah."
So I'm going with Brock.
And then the winner take all: Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte Flair. I mean, it's got to be Becky, doesn't it?
I don't think. To me, that building will come unglued.
Yeah.
If you're going to make them sit through an 8-hour Mania, and if Becky does not leave with, if it's Charlotte or if it's Ron.
Yeah. So that's going to be, 7 hours?
Counting pre-show?
Jeez.
I think the actual main card, I bet last year there was 11 matches, or 14. There was 14 matches.
There's a lot of matches last year.
And you and I both, we either tweeted or texted about it, and I'm like, dude, that's a lot. And I've looked. Last year was 5 hours and 10 minutes. I'm thinking this year will be 5.5 hours.
Fair enough. Well, that's the WrestleMania preview. I feel like we covered a lot of ground, and I think
here's the thing. I think the show will be better than a lot of the builds.
I hope you're right on that, because the builds have been god awful, and I haven't even seen SmackDown, and usually that saves the week. SmackDown.
Did you see Big E's tweet this week?
No. He
tweeted on that SmackDown is like the mouthwash to the dump that Raw took in everyone's mouth. And then he said, I'd like to think I can get away with this tweet. If not, I was hacked. It was just so.
Oh wow, that's good.
So I think Mania will be. I think it at its worst. it will be a B- at its best.
That'd be a nice change.
I think it will be a solid show.
All right, well, that does it for the WrestleMania preview with James the Sports Guy. And,
Yep.
of course, this is a wrestling division special, so make sure to follow him at 805 SmackDown for some of the best live tweets you'll see during the main event.
I will be live tweeting.
I will be live tweeting as well. It's always a lot of fun. And don't forget to follow WWE Creative Humor for some of the best live tweets as well. So party up, enjoy the WrestleMania festivities, however you do so. It should be a great one. We have high expectations, and hopefully they live up to them at the very least.
Yep.
But that'll do it for this edition of the Fan Show Wrestling Special WrestleMania Preview. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble.